Does the reconstruction of Gaza will begin even before Hamas is disarmed?
I think it's going to begin pretty soon, yeah.
Before Hamas
He's looking forward to it, so am I. Look, what a mess it is. And it's been a mess for centuries, really. It's been a mess for a long time. It seems to be born for that, but we're going to straighten it out. No, we're already starting certain things. We're doing things for sanitary conditions and others. But Gaza's a tough place. You know the expression, it's a tough neighborhood.
Did you see that? Did you?
Good evening, people. Welcome aboard the stream on the good ship My Left Eye. This is the Brews at 10. I'm your host, Lefty. Thanks for joining me, kicking off the week with another stream. Solidari-Tea. Let's brew this thing. Guitar Guy was first in the chat and also jumping in with some excellent quality advice as well. Please do follow said advice and hit the thumbs up button as you join us on stream. JK's with us as well. Very good evening to you, comrade. Hope you're well. Good to see both brewchachos. We do have a poll, another poll, the second of two categories that are going to be voted by good viewers like yourselves in this year's My Left Eye Awards, the very first My Left Eye Awards. So who out of the four nominees is your hero of the year? We've got Zach Polanski and the Green Party, Corbyn / Sultana and Your Party, now officially named Your Party, Greta Thunberg and the Gaza Flotilla, or Ahmed Al-Ahmed, the Bondi Beach vigilante who tried to take out one of the assailants, you'll remember, not too long ago. So please do vote. There's also the same poll open on Twitter as well as YouTube in our posts if you'd like to go and check those out. Although at the moment I do have to point out we might be ruling out the Twitter polls. It's just that they might not meet the criteria for the minimum number of votes required. Yeah, but we'll see. So the awards are going to be taking place tomorrow tomorrow evening. Hit the notification bell. Keep a lookout for that one. I'll be talking a bit more about the awards later. Sort of a bit of a warm-up. Stu, good to see you. Good evening from Squawk Box. Well, speaking of Squawk Box, actually the Canary are going to be featuring on tonight's stream. Quite a coincidence. Very warm welcome to you, Steve. Yes, I'll go over the rough contents of the show. At least what I've got on the menu. A few good people this evening in just a moment. I do like a bit of Canary and Squawk Box quality reporting there. But who is your hero of the year? Please do vote as you arrive. Final reminder, are you going to go for the Greens, Your Party, Gaza Flotilla, or the Bondi Beach Vigilante? I could only fit Bondi Vigilante in with the amount of characters given. Please do forgive me. Try to abbreviate as best. Hope it's all self-explanatory. Where was I? Yes, just a reminder, the poll for Zero of the Year is still open on YouTube posts. If you've not yet voted in that one, if you weren't with us on stream yesterday, you can still participate in the votes. Two of the categories in the very first My Left Eye Awards are going to be voted by members. So both polls now live and active across all formats, although like I said, I might be ruling Twitter out because, full disclosure people, there's only been one vote on each of the polls thus far. I'm not saying that certain obviously socialist accounts might get somewhat restricted or repressed on certain platforms, but certain socialist content might be getting restricted on certain socialist platforms. If you dig my meaning, people. Can you dig it?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yes, but thankfully across the other platforms the votes have been coming in thick and fast, so thank you very much for those. I would say a criteria of 20 as a minimum number of votes would be required. The other platforms have well surpassed that, so yeah, if Twitter doesn't keep up, sorry, it's out of the running. Otherwise it's yeah, going to skew the numbers. It won't be a very good average per se, mathematically speaking. It'd almost be like the superdelegates vote in the United States of America. Home of democracy. Land, land of the free. Yes, of course. Time to thank all the members on the channel. Thanks for your votes, as well as for all of your memberships and contributions. 164 now. That is actually a record on the way towards our target of 250. Thank you very much, everybody. Of course, many of these coming in the form of gifted memberships on a recent stream in tribute to a personal friend of mine and one of your fellow subscribers to the channel who unfortunately died last week. So thank you very much for all of your contributions there. Great audience we have here on the channel. Yeah, I managed to get some quite a bit together for some good causes as well. Awesome stuff. I'm sure that Vicky I'll be pleased with that. Thanks again, people. Super chats are also open. If you're watching live, there's super thanks. If you're watching back later, and there's a Buy Me a Coffee page. Check out the link in the description of the stream, and please do share as much content as you can around the old social media. Thanks again, everybody. Give us a follow whilst you're on social media. There are people at Lefty UK. Really appreciate that. Preferably Blue Sky. But we're also on Twitter and Mastodon. Solidari honey and lemon for Andy Carter this evening. A bit under the weather. Sorry to hear that, Andy. Solidari-Tea though, thanks a lot for joining us. Solidari honey and lemon, I should say. Yeah, let's see what's coming up on the stream.
Oh, God.
And like I said, we'll take a look at the My Left Eye Awards, which are happening tomorrow. Bit of a warm-up for that. I'm going to take a look again at the Epstein files. There are, I should say, at least a certain group of people who think that there might be a few red herrings in there, certain forgeries, but also a few revealing things that might pertain to what is suggested as the forgery of the late pederast Epstein's will and testament, last will and testaments. As we'll take a bit of a look at that. Keith's under even more pressure.
Oh, God.
This time about a peerage, and that sort of follows on from the Epstein files, where the reputation of the recipients of said peerage is concerned, if you get my meaning. Also the latest, we're going to take a look at the latest from Gaza as well. A few sets of analysis in there as well. Including the actual, as close as we can get, reckoning of the total number of people killed. Of course, Netanyahu at the moment is on his travels. We'll be taking a look at that as he arrived in Florida today with the president, as you saw. Rick was not too pleased with earlier at the top of the show. Yeah, the 5th time that they've actually met this year, this calendar year. Which is clearly more times than any other world leader. Let's see what else do we have lined up. A few other articles, including an alarming one about the way that BBC staff are directed when they're being trained. The aforementioned analysis about the actual number of people who've been killed in Gaza is going to come courtesy of Rathbone, someone who I've featured before on the channel in his comedy guise. He's a great, serious analyst as well as comedian. So we're going to take a look at his research actually into that. Plus a few protests as well, including the latest on the remaining Gaza hunger striker, Heba, who's on day 57. Will it be going into 58 now? of her hunger strike. Plus, who knows which way the conversation might take us this evening. But just another reminder, please make sure you've hit all the relative buttons. Thumbs up, share, the whole shebang. Let's get into things in just one moment, people. Quite correct, Andy. You're all the better for joining the stream. The remedy to many ailments, including, we hope, free market capitalism. Who knows? From humble beginnings. And Mo's just joining us as well. Nice to see you, Mo. How's it going down in London town? And thanks for joining us, mate. Solidari-Tea. Right, comedy clip inbound. This is actually a debut. We have a debutante on my left eye. A channel I just came across today, actually. It's parody adverts for various companies is their thing. So it will actually be the not the same video, but from the same uploader, Gintelligence. I don't know if any of you have come across this channel, but the opening and closing comedy clips are going to come courtesy of Gintelligence. I do recommend you go and subscribe. But if you like the usual stuff that we like to have a laugh at before we get into serious matters, I'm sure this will be right up your street, people. More glad to hear that you're doing well. Yes, very good indeed.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
So the first company up on the block, Gintelligence taking a swipe at Wetherspoons, the if anyone's from the UK, the pub chain owned by notorious right-winger and Brexiteer Tim, what's his face? Strawberry Nose guy. Forget his last name. It might come to me. But yeah, whilst like try and throw out the cheap and cheerful image, they do have somewhat of a gammony reputation in the UK as well. And actually, as a company policy, they don't allow customers to tip the staff, which for anybody who frequents bars abroad or even in the UK might find that somewhat ridiculous. Tim Martin, thank you very much, Andy Carter. Tim Martin. And yeah, Ahmed Al-Ahmed reminding you of Bruce Willis in Die Hard. There more. Well, yeah, was it similar? He had a white vest on as well, I think, didn't he? I don't know if he had a fag hanging out of his mouth at the same time. More about the awards and Ahmed Al-Ahmed later on, perhaps. So yeah, here we go. Tim Martin's Wetherspoons. Another bit of trivia as well, just surrounding the company itself. Tim Martin named the company after one of his teachers at school. I believe it might have been his geography teacher, if memory serves, who told him that he would never amount to anything, and in an act of spite, named his now prevalent company after that teacher, J.D. Wetherspoon. Facts in your face on the Brews at 10.
Bet that's coming out of his wages.
At Wetherspoons, we guarantee a Christmas evening you'll never forget. Unless you black out, which, statistically speaking, you probably will.
For Christmas, we prioritise staff who are lonely, miserable, and ideally divorced, ensuring all our guests feel a genuine sense of belonging.
We're extra busy during Christmas, so we kindly ask for your understanding if your pint arrives in a wine glass, a cracked mug, or something Brenda found in the bin.
As part of our commitment to efficiency this Christmas, all orders must be placed through the mobile app, even if you're standing at the bar, making direct eye contact with staff.
Our tables and floors are intentionally sticky this Christmas, so you don't drift apart as a family.
Going for a piss? The toilets are located upstairs, through the cupboard, behind a fire door, then left, then right. Here's a map, just in case. And when you finally reach the toilets, you'll see why we're famous for a white Christmas. Any powder discovered behind the sink is consumed at your own risk. To preserve what little dignity remains this Christmas, stag and hen do's are...
And I know we have a lot of northeastern viewers, some of whom might be in the chat at the moment. Don't you start kicking off about that being a Sunderland fan coming out of the cubicle there with the Colombian marching powder under his nose.
Strictly prohibited. Let's be honest, you're a tacky wanker if you host one here anyway.
Our festive three-course menu is back. French fries and ketchup.
Sorry, got to confirm that now. Just too curious. Well, it could be. A lot of teams were red and white stripes. Might be Stoke, for example. Who knows?
To preserve what little dignity remains this Christmas, stag and hen do's are strictly prohibited.
That was strange. Let's try again.
Behind the sink is consumed at your own risk. To preserve what little dignity remains this Christmas, stag and hen do's are strictly prohibited. Let's be honest, you're a tacky wanker if you host one here anyway.
Our festive three-course menu is back. French fries and ketchup for starters, leftover curry for main, and Irish coffee for dessert. Go five-course with a pint and crisps.
Fed up with Christmas songs on repeat? Don't worry, we refuse to pay for music licenses so you can enjoy the sound of cutlery scraping plates and feral adults arguing.
We've ordered a truckload of rubbish from Temu this Christmas. Given the complete absence of parenting around here, children may collect one present each.
Thank you for choosing Wetherspoons.
Look at the cup. The guy, the football fan.
Around here, children may collect one
Twat.
present each.
Thank you for choosing Wetherspoons this
Oh, very good.
Christmas. If we see you here again next year, we kindly suggest you seek professional help.
Yeah. Suggestions open for where that football fan might be from. Very good stuff there from Gintelligence. Go and, do go and subscribe there to Gintelligence. More from them later. Channel I just discovered today. Well, personally discovered. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Let us know your takes on the Wetherspoon franchise in the chat or in the comments if you're watching back later on. Perhaps Tim Martin. If you're watching personally, then I guess sorry, not sorry. I can't say I've never frequented one, but usually at someone else's choice, as in meters there, whatever. Alright, people. We shall move on.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Oh, he puts the accent on, does he? Andy? Tim Martin. Tim Martin, that's me. Right, what we need to do is get out of this European Union. And they said that, yeah. Vote for Johnson, that'll sort out the country, and leave the European Union. Oh, now we're out. That'll sort out the country. And now they want to vote for reform. Well, some of them do.
That was the biggest load of crap I've ever heard.
Now let's have a look at this this theory someone's uploaded. It's a pretty quick fire synopsis of all of this. They've noticed some discrepancies in handwriting and various other documents, including some of the postcards, one of which I think we saw in the news report that I did a bit of an analysis of yesterday. They seem to have some pretty strong suspicions about the circumstances surrounding the signing of the late Jeffrey Epstein's will, so let's see what's happening. I don't know if any of you watching have heard about these theories. But if you do know, or you've heard of anything that isn't included in this next part, do throw it into the chat or into the comments, people. Well, let's take a look.
Clearly, I need to make this video again because they don't want you to see it. Because not only have I identified who actually wrote the postcard to Larry Nassau, but I have reason to believe that Epstein's will was forged. Of course, this is all alleged and my own opinions. In the files, I found an unredacted version of the attorney sign-in sheet for the jail. However, what is missing from these pages are the logins from the 8th and the 9th of August. But the lawyer that he met almost every single day was Talley. In a close second place was Cologne, who was also the lawyer for El Chapo. While I was pouring through these login sheets, I had something click in my brain. Out of the probably 40 times that lawyers signed in for Epstein, only one of them referred to him as J. Epstein, Talley. It immediately reminded me of the postcard to Larry Nassau. And y'all remember I said from day one that this was forged. Now look at the J that he signed the postcard with. Notice how it looks almost exactly like the way that she wrote J on the...
Okay, a lot of this is going to come in thick and fast, so I'll just pause that for a moment there. Highlighting the letter J on the respective signatures, which is being implied here is written by the same hand or are genuine. Just so you can take a closer look at those, because it comes in a bit thick and fast, the information. Okay, everybody got that? So, of course, feel free to pause and review if you like.
Attorney log. And even this one, if you look at the way that it's tilted and the little hook there, it looks the same as that letter. When you compare this postcard to Talley's handwriting, you can see, look at the N and the N. Look at this N.
Focusing on the N's there, let's zoom and enhance. So the N in NYC of New York City, obviously, New York, in the address at the top. And then further down, we're looking there? Oh, we're looking at the N on inmate, which you can see in the middle there, just underneath the pointing hand. I think they're drawing attention to that N as well, as in inmate. Okay. Let's see where they're going with this. This isn't a proper My Left Private Eye, because this isn't my investigation, just a quick look at this.
Here we've got a straight Y, and over here we've got a curved Y. When you come down here, look, curved Y, straight Y. The 6, the 7, and the 5 look like this 6, 7, and 5. This A looks just like this A in Arizona, as well as the Z looking like the 7. Look at the N on Avenue and the N in this inmate, as well as the U, very unique U.
Okay. Capital letters are very difficult to distinguish between, more difficult than lowercase letters, that's for sure. Oh yeah, there's another N at the bottom there that we're supposed to be making note of, but very quickly, shout out to Guitar Guy for the generous gifted membership there. Update the total. Thanks a lot for that. Solidarity. Let's all big up Guitar Guy in the chat, please, people. So where were we? Where is this going? Let's see. Curiouser and curiouser.
Right here in Tucson, that same unique U. And then I started honing in on the last will and testament of Jeffrey Epstein, and I realized this document looks absolutely suspicious. Not a single time on this 11-page document does Jeffrey Epstein ever print his name anywhere. Every page is just initial, and then he just initialed instead of a signature, which would be fine if he had done anything else besides initialing anywhere in this document. At no point does he even write out the date, and even on the affidavit on the last page, the lawyers printed their names, but not Jeffrey, even though they're...
Well, what immediately springs to my mind about this is, even if they are genuinely written by him, the fact that they're not written in full, I might suggest in a rushed manner, could perhaps imply, if they were signed by Epstein, that it was done under duress and in haste. I certainly think that that's an element you can't ignore. That could be one thing to look at. We've spoken before about CCTV footage surrounding his cell. Then, of course, the mysterious circumstances surrounding his huge, air quotes, suicide. Oh shit, I just said that word on a fucking live stream. It was a quote. It was a quote. They're going to come for me for that one. But anyway, that's just what sprung to my mind about the absence of his name written out in full prose, as opposed to the lawyers who you can see here.
Originally clearly is supposed to be a space for it. And the notary doesn't even have him sign because it says that he is known to the notary. And yes, Epstein did like to sign his name like that, but let's take a moment to look at the real ones. This one from his non-prosecutorial agreement, this one from some deed he was transferring, and this was his signature on the will. The loop isn't even in the right place, and if you notice, there are hesitation marks right here and right here. Somebody paused because they were hesitating on what to write next. These are...
What do you think about that? So, partway through, that's not to say that anyone signing their own name might not stop partway through for various reasons. Again, you can't rule out that that might be under duress. But if it's perhaps another scenario that it is being forged, then yeah, that could be likely that they stop to look at a original signature in an attempt to forge it. What do you think about the loop, though, this loop? Excuse me. Is it in the wrong place? So you think they're not signatures, JK? That's just appeared in the chat. Well, it's sort of on the top. Well, it's hard to... It doesn't even look like a proper loop in the top ones. Curiouser and curiouser.
Two of the initials from the same will and testament, and not only are these vastly different from each other, but they look nothing like his original handwriting. And even this affidavit doesn't look anything like this. Just really take your time to soak this in, because I gotta tell you, I truly think that Darren Indyke is the mastermind here. U.S. Attorney's Office was about ready to execute a search warrant on the island. He knew about the Bannon documentary, he knew that Jeffrey was about ready to name names, and he knew that he would be implicated in all of it.
Well, let's just go back. This is Nerdy Pink Panda 1 for any TikTokers who might want to check out the account for more theories. But Darren Keith Indyke is the one who's been implicated in this video. Lawyer in Florida. So we'll just play the last part of that again. If this is a forgery, it's in an act of panic, preemptive panic, by the lawyer who thought that Epstein was going to take him down with him.
Anything like this. Just really take your time to soak this in, because I gotta tell you, I truly think that Darren Indyke is the mastermind here. U.S. Attorney's Office was about ready to execute a search warrant on the island. He knew about the Bannon documentary, he knew that Jeffrey was about ready to name names, and he knew that he would be implicated in all of it.
So in trying to save his own skin, perhaps, or you might want to check out more from Nerdy Pink Panda to see if there might be any weight into that. It's quite interesting, quite curious. Well, yeah, he's Epstein's lawyer, so he's got to be guilty of something. Good point, no more. Yeah, I bet the shredders were working overtime when the documentaries started coming out and the ceiling started caving in. Holy shit, we've got to get out of here. You've got to think, though, what kind of a sleazebag, slime ball lawyer would be employed by the likes of Epstein and Maxwell. And then the, oh, I didn't know anything, autobiographies will start to come out. Yeah. Shysters. Do keep your opinions on that coming in. Just another reminder to vote in the poll for Hero of the Year. One of two categories voted by viewers in the very first My Left Eye Awards coming up tomorrow. So who is your Hero of the Year? Zach Polanski of the Greens, Corbyn and Sultana and Your Party, Greta Thunberg and the Gaza Flotilla, or Ahmed Al-Ahmed, the Bondi Beach vigilante. Greta currently in the lead, with Polanski in second and Ahmed Al-Ahmed in third. No votes yet for Your Party. Interesting. It will be an average over 2 or 3 polls, of course. This question is also out there on YouTube in posts, as well as Twitter, but if there aren't at least 20 votes on the Twitter polls by the time the award starts, then they will be voided. And hit thumbs up and stuff as well, please, people. Good points there in the chats. Signature's supposed to be one's name in one's normal handwriting. But not everybody does it like that, necessarily. Andy Carty, I think it's improbable that the lawyer's the mastermind behind, or that, well, perhaps not the mastermind behind everything, but perhaps did something dodgy surrounding the signing of his will, at least. But yeah, it's highly improbable. Well, it will all come down to Epstein and Maxwell at the end of the day. They've been convicted, but obviously there will be other actors, other players in this. Some people just write initials for a signature as well. Yeah, perhaps. But it's not like, you know, people used to all sign with an X. Oh, that's a unique mark, that's for sure. Okay, moving on.
Have you lost control of your MPs, Prime Minister?
Well, perhaps he has. That might not be the only thing he's lost control of either. Yeah, Keith's in the next story coming up.
Oh, God.
And it surrounds a peerage. Let's see what's happening there. I've got an article. Just queue up. This is from the Canary. Well mentioned earlier, so this is unbelievable. Not just given what's going on currently, of course, with Trump, Epstein, of course the former Prince Andrew, Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, being brought in to this as well. And of course Mandy, who had to step down or was sacked from, resigned from his position as United States Ambassador. Has Keith learned his lesson from all of this? Apparently not. Apparently not, as the Canary reports. A great source of alternative media for anybody who doesn't follow Canary or Squawk Box. Go and check them out immediately. Just get this on the screen for you now. It's quite unbelievable, people. Despite knowing a former aide was a convicted nonce, the Prime Minister has decided to put him in the House of Lords. There's one tweet surrounding this. Keir Starmer gave peerage to ex-aide despite knowing he campaigned for a man, charged with child sex offences including accesses images of girls as young as 10. Fuck me. Number 10 investigated and interviewed Matthew Doyle once Morgan McSweeney was warned about him. Yeah, well, as vetting processes go, Morgan McSweeney isn't exactly right up there. Just check you can see all the text. So the article goes on. The ex-aide in question, Matthew Doyle and the paedophile, he's linked to his Sean Morton. Morton was a Labour councillor who was charged with possessing and distributing illegal images. Fucking hell. Including explicit material of naked girls and the sexual abuse of a dog. I'm aghast, I'm sorry for the brief silence. Jesus, wept. Okay, Labour expelled him, and while that seems like a plus for Starmer, be aware that this happened in 2016. If Morton got caught today, perhaps he would have been the one elevated to the Lords. So bestiality as well you can throw into the mix. Fucking hell. Now, just away from the article for one brief moment, people, there is going to be more coming up on the channel about this, but I've mentioned a new campaign that I'm actually involved with myself as well. Take Back Power, which part of which concerns replacing the House of Lords with a Citizens' House. And it's certainly incidents like this that go to lend credence to that idea. Yeah, more about that to come in future content, but this place is just full of some of the most revolting human beings on the planet. Political corruption, sacrosanct, if that's the right word. Sacrosanct? I pronounced that right? But the very definition of political corruption, the same goes with the Russian donors, with the Tories and with Labour. Of course, Mandy was in the House of Lords as well as being ambassador to the United States of America. He knew about Mandy. He knew about this. I don't want to even say person. But just back to the article now. Gabriel Pogrund of The Times summarised the story on Twitter, currently known as Twitter, noting that Starmer and his chief of staff were warned about Doyle, which prompted a, quote, secret enquiry. This inquiry concluded that Doyle's association was fine. Well, this is what you get from Starmer, from Morgan McSweeney. As well as you can see in this tweet, Jill Cuthberton, who's the Deputy Chief Aide, who was also warned about the risks of Doyle's appointment. So how could they not know? There's no deniability anywhere in this whatsoever. Oh, and now the attempts at separation after the fact we can see here. Keir Starmer is now cramming the House of Lords with Labour peers after previously promising to abolish the House of Lords in his first term. Well, this isn't the first time. Starmer a clear Blairite, ergo a Thatcherite, and it's as far back as the likes of Tony Blair that there was talk of abolishing the House of Lords, and that never came to pass under Tony Blair, under Gordon Brown. And now that Labour are back in government once again with Keir Starmer. It did never happen under the Tories, of course. No, but it's another unfortunate "we told you so." One of the false promises that was on the table. Was it even in the manifesto as well for Labour? Last year's election, it's still last year. A couple of days left of 25. Oh, excuse me. But the Canary go on to say, literally, you can't trust a word this guy says, unless, of course, those words are something like, I don't care how many paedophiles you're friends with, I'm going to give you a non-democratic peerage for life. Well put there, Canary. And the Squawk Box, of course. Savile all over again, yeah. The whiff of corruption, the stench of incompetence and the reek of hypocrisy. As the article puts it there at the top, this is disgusting. Look what you voted for, if you voted for Starmer, if you voted for Labour. Sammy, thanks for joining us in the chat, nice to see you this evening. Solidari-Tea. But that's awful. That is... And that's another reason why sources like Squawk Box and Canary are worth following. You won't be seeing this at the top of the news. The nighttime news on mainstream media anytime soon. And there are many other worthwhile stories that get, either brushed over or barely acknowledged whatsoever. And it's thanks to people like Canary. Squawk Box, do go and show your support, people. Another great source as well. Is Middle East Eye, which is coming up as we get into the latest on Gaza next. Make sure you've hit thumbs up on the stream, people. Make sure you voted in the poll. Hero of the Year 2025, who's it going to be? Will all be revealed within the next 24 hours. But at the moment, as far as this particular poll goes, Greta Thunberg still in the lead, Polanski in second, Ahmed third, and still no votes for Corbyn, Sultana and your party. Interesting.
socialists.
Oh my God.
And another fine point there in the chat from JK. That's another reason Starmer's not interested in abolishing the House of Lords. Of course, he'll need a job himself after he's voted out. That's if he allows further elections. But no, we have to have a properly representative second house. A house of the people, a citizen's house, whatever you might call it. Check out all the organisations that are going to be involved with that, including Take Back Power. There are also other organisations such as Humanity Project and Assemble, who are forming citizens' assemblies in local areas, so please do check those out, people, if citizens' assemblies sound like your kind of thing. I won't explain the full logistics of them here, because we're moving on now to the latest in Gaza. Started with this from Middle East Eye. From my left eye to Middle East Eye. And while we're talking of alternative media, this is another reason why people are moving away from mainstream. One of the reasons, perhaps, why this very platform, YouTube, is the second biggest on the planet. But especially surrounding the reporting on Gaza, there's a lack of trust with the BBC. Regular viewers of the channel, no doubt, will probably share those sentiments, as well as be familiar with our own here at My Left Eye. Having a few months ago made a formal complaint on that matter, but this time Middle East Eye revealed that BBC are training their staff not to criticise Zionists. The training, which was, I hate to use the phrase, rolled out to BBC staff last week and seen by Middle East Eye, says people should criticise the Israeli government rather than Zionists. Okay, let's see what's happening. Andy, thank you very much for the gifted memberships there. Oh, wait a minute. Sent 5, not 1. Yes, you did. You did indeed, sir. We had some of the old rebounds happening on the tribute stream a few streams ago, but since then there hasn't been any sign of it, but one of those has definitely gone through. I'll increase the total by 1. Just being precautionary, I guess. But it might be the case that 4 of those have been sent back. Mo, thanks for confirming that you were refunded last time. Up to the old tricks again, is it? Okay. Well, it'll take more than that to hold this channel back. But thank you for the efforts, nonetheless, Andy, of course. You got the you got the Gimli there. That is, your contribution still only counts as 1. Easter eggy reference there. Right, back to this business with the BBC. Just zoom and enhance that text a bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so the BBC's new anti-Semitism training course. Oh, I bet that's a pleasure to be on. The course says that people who have no intention to offend Jewish people should not criticise Zionists. Well, tough shit. The training rolled out to... The reason I hate it rolled out is it reminds me of COVID and Matt Hancock and the likes, using that 100 times a day. Anyway, to BBC staff last week, and seen by Middle East Eye, says anti-Semites frequently use the word Zionist or Zio when they are in fact referring to Jews, whether in Israel or elsewhere. What? No, don't think so.
What?
Okay.
What?
What?
You gotta be f***ing kidding.
So, the huge global institution that the BBC is don't know the difference between a country and a religion. Those claiming to be anti-Zionists, not anti-Semitic, should do so in the knowledge that many Jewish people consider themselves to be Zionists. The training adds if these individuals mean only to criticise the policies of the government of Israel and have no intention to offend Jewish people, they should criticise, quote, the Israeli government, not Zionists. The Israeli government are Zionists, you fucking morons. Really? Now, if this isn't bias of the First Division, then what is it? Then what is it? It's clear bias, isn't it? And trying to imply that there's no distinction between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism at the same time.
That was the biggest load of crap I've ever heard.
What are they? Put my teeth in. Start again. Welcome to the stream. From the top. No, seriously, what are they on? Maybe we find out through the article. The course was made by the BBC Academy in conjunction with the Jewish Staff Network. The Jewish Staff Network. Alright, who are they? Who funds them? The first questions you have to ask. Also the Anti-Semitism Policy Trust and the Community Security Trust, known as the CST. They monitor anti-Semitic hate crimes and work with the government and police, and they previously claimed that pro-Palestine marches in London were, quote, disrupting the peace and basic rights of Jews, and called for them to end. Or so, it's essentially, it's your standard lobbyist think tank, basically, from that description. Completely overlooking the fact that there are huge Jewish blocs, certainly on the national demonstrations, separate demonstrations as we saw on last night's Sunday live stream, attended by hundreds, near thousands of Jews in protest against the very misrepresentations that offend them, that are being described in this very article, this very these very tactics, this methodology, again being used to misrepresent the Jewish community. It's revolting, it's disgusting. It is anti-Semitic as well. Irony of ironies. yeah, so that's what the CST are all about. Now let's just read through a bit more of this. They also incorporate the controversial, which I think in this case means you should possibly rule out the opinion of entirely. But the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism, which the British government has adopted, but which legal experts have warned could lead to a curtailment of debate. The definition says that claiming the existence of the State of Israel as a racist endeavour is an illustration of potential anti-Semitism. No, it absolutely is not. They're just attempting to cut off all legitimate means and routes of criticising Israel, and again trying to portray nations as a religion. This is the BBC, for fuck's sake. We're not talking about some, you know, shitheel Instagram account. This conflation is preposterous. That's another way of putting it. When Middle East Eye asked the BBC for comments, they were directed to comments previously made by outgoing director Tim Davie. For what it's worth, he said, BBC is for everyone, and we are clear that everyone working here should feel they belong. As an organisation, we stand united against any form of discrimination, prejudice or intolerance. Not particularly clear on any sort of definition there, though. So, yeah, that's well, not even an attempt at a cop-out, that's a cop-out, a direct cop-out from the BBC in itself. Or just whatever Tim Davie said. Spineless. They won't even take account for their actions or respond appropriately. Just one moment, people. Doc, thanks for joining us on stream. Well, we do know what's real, but it appears that the BBC do not. Yeah, get this as well, people. Middle East Eye also reported last month that the BBC's online editor, Rafi Berg, said in 2020 that it was, quote, wonderful to be in a circle of trust with the current and former Mossad agents whilst writing a book on Israeli intelligence. And the Mossad's fantastic operations, as he's quoted to have described them, made him tremendously proud. Wow. What, like the 94 bombing of the Israeli embassy? And this isn't a tin hat theory, people. They blamed, was it at least two Palestinians for that. This happened in Britain in 1994. Bombing of the Israeli embassy. They pinned it on two Palestinians. It was in fact a Mossad operation. Is he proud of that? But that was just one example. A lot of people think Mossad might be behind a lot of other false flag attacks, but that is a can of worms, people. I just threw one example out there. Back to the article though. A study published in June by the Muslim Council of Britain, linked Centre for Media Monitoring, claimed the BBC's coverage of Israel's illegal occupation of Gaza is systematically biased against Palestinians, according to analysis of over 35,000 pieces of content. So that's quite a hefty chunk of articles and such for them to go through, come to that conclusion. I can't say I've been through 35,000 articles myself personally, but have noticed the clear bias nonetheless. Another reminder in the article that the BBC pulled the documentary Gaza, How to Survive a War Zone, which I think a lot of us have found to see through other means. I can't remember exactly on which stream, but I think I did provide you with a pathway to that in the description of one of the streams around the time that it was banned. So that would be February of this year for anybody who hasn't seen it, who wants to find. And it's legit, don't worry, you're not going to have the feds at your door or anything like that. So it was pulled after it emerged that the boy who narrated the film, Abdullah al-Yazuri, was the son of a deputy minister in Gaza's government. Yeah. Who were, of course, democratically elected. Now, of course, Hamas. But then, of course, the Zionist arms were up in the air, weren't they? Oh, you have to ban this, you have to pull this documentary. Did Channel 4 show it in its entirety? Perhaps it's archived on More 4. That's More 4 for anybody who's watching in Yorkshire. Yeah, and it was a very intense documentary for anybody who hasn't seen it. I was certainly moved by it myself, do have to say. Very well and bravely narrated by the young man in question there, Abdullah al-Yazuri, as well, it has to be said. Every Gazan, of course, putting their lives on the line every day. So do check that out. Oh, it does say at the bottom there, yeah, confirms that there, that it was aired by Channel 4 and other news organisations. But you can still go ploughing through the previous contents on My Left Eye. I can hear you all opening 4OD, 4 on demand, from where I'm sitting. Well, what can you say about that article? Great stuff from Middle East Eye, another excellent example of alternative media and investigation there. Yeah, Solidarity to, as far as eyes go, namesakes, ocular namesakes, I guess, ish. Your memory's not failed you yet? Well, that's good to know. Thanks for that, Andy. How's the poll doing? It's got a bit closer, actually, but Greta Thunberg's still in the lead there, with 53% of the votes at the moment. It's not bad. We're going to take a look at this Rathbone video now. Yet again, highly recommend you follow Rathbone, fellow YouTuber. From the States, had his previous accounts taken down, apparently, fittingly, seguingly, over comments made about Israel. Anti-Zionist comments made about Israel specifically, so as perfect a segue as we can get, and Rathbone's going to be talking a bit about the actual true death toll in Gaza, which the BBC and other organisations, if memory serves, figure at around 55-60%. But Rathbone has some other figures which might shock even you, dear viewers. They certainly shocked myself. And when I first saw this video, personally, I was more or less satisfied that the true number would have to be over 100,000 when you consider many factors which Rathbone's going to go into in this video, so I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get into it. Let's see what's happening, people.
The Israeli Foreign Ministry made this despicable post about Hanukkah and how we all need to be get behind Israel. From Hanukkah in Israel 2,200 years ago to Times Square today, our light continues to vanquish the darkness. So I just said, it might be a good time to remind people that Israel has slaughtered 380,000 infants under the age of 5 in the past 2 years. Well, I say that and I get just comment after comment, people calling me a liar. And so, we've all seen the memes, and a lot of times we get our information from memes and headlines, and we don't bother to really go into the article and see what the source of the information is, even if it's from somebody that we trust. So I figured, since I've gotten so much critique over this, I figured maybe we should go in and see, am I lying when I say this? Where does this information come from? Okay, so I want to go through that with you. Before I do, just to show you what I mean when people say that they didn't believe me in all this, and people are calling me a liar and an anti-Semite. See if I can find, here it is. Yeah, so Elon Levi, the despicable Israeli PR propagandist, he quote tweeted the post at some...
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of you already know that name as well. Levi, akin to David Mensa, Zippy Balsavelli, who featured on last night's stream as well. He's right up there. A lot of them are all the same, aren't they, these Zionist shite hawks? But just to give you a clear picture of the sort of piece of shit that Rathbone is responding to here on Twitter, currently known as Twitter.
At one point he said the world's richest man needs to decide he doesn't need to share ad revenue with people spreading such obvious lies that are fueling violence and terrorism worldwide. So, okay, obviously people are not believing that 380,000 infants were killed in the past 2 years. So let's go through it, Well, it turns out, and I did my research on this, and this is why I want to share it with you. I want to take you on a little journey here.
So this is the claim, that not 300 plus infants, that is children under the age of 5, that counts as. So how did Rathbone get to this? But you must think, no, surely there must be some miscalculation there. I'd really like to hear your thoughts about this. Please chat as Rathbone takes us through this, so we know that a large proportion of those who have been killed in Gaza are women and children and infants. But 300,000, how do we get to that figure? This is pretty shocking.
Somebody, I forget who, somebody commented on the clip where I was talking about this, and they left the article because I wondered out loud. I was like, yeah, we've seen the meme. I saw the meme. This is the meme that I'm quoting with that devastating statistic. But we should find the article and go into it. Well, one of the commenters, and if you're here, I thank you, left the name of the article and where it comes from. It's called "Skewering History: The Odious Politics of Counting Gaza's Dead." And I'm going to spare you the entire article, which I read last night. For the better part of 2 years now, we've known that the death toll has been an egregious undercount, considering the fact that Israel has destroyed every apparatus and infrastructure and people that were devoted to accurately tallying up the dead and all the devastation. So it's by design that we don't really know how many people have died, but we can conjecture, we can, based on the conditions, based on the information that we do have. And
he's probably gone through a lot of material in this investigation. To his credit, Rathbone there. Just quickly wanted to interject. More, it was... yeah, we had a lot of donations on the tribute stream for Vicky. Yes, it was... let me think. It'll come to me.
reports that have been written, we can come to a ballpark figure that is a little bit more respectable and credible. Where this data comes from is that it started with, obviously, the Gaza's health ministry. As I understand it, in May of this year, we're going to get to that 380,000 infant number, but let's start with in May of 2025, earlier this year, the Gazan health ministry released a report.
It was Davinia. It was Davinia Robbins. Yeah. More. That's gifted 50 memberships.
That, I don't know if you can call it a report.
Oh, it's a Rathbone's
They released a number of 50.
Sorry. Just skip that back a bit. You talk about Rathbone's channel. Got you. Sorry about the confusion there.
Of 2025, earlier this year, the Gazan health ministry released a report that, I don't know if you can call it a report, but they released a number of 50. They guessed that about 55,000 plus was the death toll up until that point. As I understand it, up until that point, they
yeah, and that's the figure that was getting published in a lot of the BBC articles. You know, the notorious two sentences that are usually at the end or towards the end of BBC articles about the illegal occupation of Gaza, not the war or conflict in Gaza. 55, 60,000, and they always, of course, hasten to add, well, that's according to the Hamas-run health ministry, even though a lot of their figures turn out to be accurate, but in this case, it appears, if anything, that's a significantly conservative figure.
They gave a number of 55,000 plus in May of 2025. But we must understand that that number has to do with hospital records. It has to do with people that had died from traumatic, severe injury, violent deaths, direct deaths from an Israeli airstrike, for example.
Yeah,
or, you know, like as we...
If they have a death certificate, basically, if they know the cause of death, if the remains have been found, they have been identified, and all of the other parts of the process of filling out a proper certified certificate of death.
Know that they were being targeted when they were going to receive aid from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and so they were, you know, sniper wounds and all this stuff. So anybody that died up until that point that was traumatically injured and died in the hospital, they counted that as a death. But they leave out a good number of people that have died in the hospital based on, you know, malnutrition or dehydration or any kind of deprivation, malnutrition and hypothermia, things like this. They don't count that as part of the war.
Well, there's obviously an increase in those kind of deaths happening at the moment, with Gazans freezing in tents or even just makeshift shelter, whatever they can find, a piece of tarpaulin, whatever it might be, they can put together in these increasingly harsh conditions. They often are subjected to flooding, the ongoing famine crisis, of course, in tandem with that, creating, as always, the worst conditions for human life known on the planet.
It's part of Israel's occupation and its onslaught. So on top of that, anybody that has died outside of the hospital or has been disappeared, you know, There's a lot of bodies that are missing, because when we say missing, let's be real, we're talking about people that have died and are buried under the rubble, never to be found. So they're not factored in. So a team, while this is going on, obviously this report was released in May of 2025, but, they had been releasing reports ever since October 7th saying this is how many dead, this is how many dead, and the number kept rising, of course. But a team of epidemiologists, I know I butchered that word, epidemiologists. A team of epidemiologists actually countered the Gazan Health Ministry. Very interestingly, they said that actually the Gazan Health Ministry was underreporting the deaths by 41%. And they gave a number using their own models also, but based on hospital records once again. And
41%. 41%. That's more than significant, isn't it? As an underestimation.
Public obituaries that were announced on social media, and then also this survey that they had. I don't know if it was the health ministry that had this survey, whatever. But the point is that they actually said, well, the death count should be by February of 2025. They said this, that the death count should have been 64,060, something like that. Like it was already 10,000 more than what the Gazan Health Ministry was claiming in May. Later on at 55,000 plus. So that's kind of an interesting point, right? Because when we hear about the health ministry, establishment media, and also the Israeli government, they all slander the health ministry for being connected to Hamas and how they can't be trusted. So whatever number they give, it's probably lower than that because we can't trust the health ministry. Well, this team comes in subsequently and says, well, actually, they're underreporting. And there's good evidence as to why, not only for the reason that I just said, which was
the reason not to believe Hamas's figures is always the same, and it's just simply because it is the Hamas-run health ministry, which is, again, it's the government. There's the government part and there is the military part, which most mainstream media doesn't want to distinguish between, nor do they hasten to remind people that Hamas were elected as the government. But there's only ever one reason for not believing those figures, but there's a multitude of reasons why you can think that they're understated.
Fact that Israel has destroyed all infrastructure that's devoted to accurately giving out the death toll, but also because there's a political reason, because Hamas doesn't want its people or the international community to think that it's not taking care of its people. So they have a political incentive to minimize the actual death toll. So anyway, long story short, this subsequent report was released by Lancet in February of 2025 and said the death count's actually 64,000 plus. Then, so we now have a new standard. It's the Lancet study. Okay, that's more accurate. It's more comprehensive. It gives better information. But see, there's one drawback to the Lancet article, the Lancet report, which is that it doesn't account for indirect deaths, which means anyone that didn't outright die from violent trauma, but people that died from starvation and malnutrition and what they call war-imposed deprivation. So the Lancet article does not give us that number. It's just, direct deaths from violent Israeli airstrikes, 64,000 plus back in February of 2025. Okay, then you had another...
The amount of emissions here, these are the kinds of fatalities that are happening daily in Gaza. Malnutrition, airstrikes, of course, as Israel continue to ignore the ceasefire. Good points there in the chat from Andy and Mo. Starting with Andy, who argues that journalism's been kept alive by Gazans and the few Westerners who report properly on this. The sentiment's entirely correct. Let's say that this was taking place in the 1980s. We wouldn't perhaps even know a fraction of what was going on. It's only obviously through the use of social media, mobile phone technology, that we're able to find out a lot of this information in the first place, with international journalists being banned, because of course Israel, as well as thinking they've got the right to invade another country, think that they can dictate who isn't allowed inside. So more quite correct, we do need international journalists back in to report on this. Just also, while I've paused it, want to point out as well that UNRWA, of course. Israel have tried to attack UNRWA, have tried to link UNRWA to Hamas in a desperate attempt to stop people from revealing the truth. Other human rights observers as well, who might be able to provide accurate figures. But these are the details that Israel and the IDF don't want you to know.
Other epidemiologist expert from the University of Edinburgh who looked at the study and assessed all the information and said, actually...
Edinburgh, I think that was Edinburgh, or at least a stab at Edinburgh. Apologies for correcting Rathbone there, not Eden. It's Edinburgh, not Edinburgh. However it was pronounced there.
Okay, so a conservative estimate would be for every one direct violent death, there's 4 more indirect deaths caused by Israel's aggression. So you can take the death toll and then times it by 4, essentially, and then add that number to what the number is, and then now you're going to have a more accurate tally of how many have died. And so this subsequent report takes all of this information, codifies it, consolidates it, and says, okay, well, we're releasing this report in July of 2025, so a few months have gone on.
Yeah, thanks, James Holmes, but it does look like that one hasn't gone through. Again, unfortunately, it's just one of those things that we have to tolerate. I did try and make inquiries about it during the last period that this happened, quite a while ago now, but didn't really get very far in my complaint/inquiry. But thanks for trying nonetheless, James. Attempting to send 5 gifted memberships, but we don't see the recipient's name underneath the notification, so it looks like they've not gone through. But let's still big up James for the attempt. I think it still deserves a big up in the chat. Brew chat shows. Let's show some solidarity.
Obviously Israel's continued. Hundreds of more have been killed between May and July, so the number is bigger. So if we take the Lancet study, which only studied, it basically extrapolated like the first 7 months of the war and said, okay, up until February, like we said, this would be the death count. Well, using that criteria and then extrapolating it to July of 2025, and if we factor in the non-violent deaths, the indirect deaths, we would have 136,000 violent deaths and then 544,000 indirect deaths. So you add that number, 544,000 plus 136,000 up until July 2025, and you get the number 680,000 dead in Gaza. And
wow. So just to pause there, 680,000 when you have the official figures plus the numbers, indirect deaths, everything is listed there. That's huge. Given in mind, let's remind ourselves, 60,000 is the official figure that's been floated around. It's now 10 times that amount. Over 10 times, 11 times the amount previously thought.
And now, statistically, they know that in these studies that, 55% or an overwhelming majority were women and children and the elderly. And so based on the prior percentages of the demographics of who accounts for the dead, like was it how many women, how many children, what percentage, then it becomes 380,000 infants, basically children under the age of 5 is considered an infant. So that's where the 380,000...
Which is a huge proportion of the amount of people who have died. And we know that a lot of these are specifically targeted. We've heard many doctors' testimonies coming in from the hospitals or whatever facilities remain. Of course, there are no functioning hospitals left in Gaza, but sniper shots to the head, deliberate targeting of children, of infants en masse. And these numbers are absolutely shocking, that over 300,000 of 600,000 dead are infants. 300,000, that's like the size of perhaps a large town here in England, one of the larger towns. There are cities with populations that size. Cities. It's awful. It's dreadful.
Infants dead. That's where that number comes from. And there's a whole methodology behind it, which I'm not going to get into. And, you know, it's a lot of math and stuff. And I'm not a mathematician per se, but I trust reports and experts weighing in. And we know that, like with the FBI and the CIA, Israel's no different. They have all of the monopoly on the information and this catastrophic event. So we can't trust anything that they're going to put forth. They're going to deceive us. So we have to pick up the slack. It's got to come from independent experts and committees that are formed that want to actually get to the truth. And then here's another caveat to all this. President Trump himself has acknowledged this number. He has repeated in public statements that there is 1.7 million living in the Gaza Strip as of right now. Like, what are we going to do with the 1.7 million that still remain? Well,
that could be a case of a confession that he thinks he's gloating. But hundreds of thousands of people don't just disappear, do they? They, air quotes, get disappeared, as Rathbone has put it in part of this video, by the IDF.
If we take that number and subtract it from the 2.3 million people that were living in the Gaza Strip before October 7th, we can see that it boils down to 680,000. Once you can, I mean, it's a little bit over, let's see, 2.3 minus 1.7 is 0.6, right? 0.6 of a million, so 600,000. It's a ballpark. I think that there was another piece of information there that I'm missing where, 100,000 of them also fled to Egypt, apparently, or supposedly. So it's a ballpark figure, but, the president of the United States is basically...
Okay, so if you can account for this 100,000... give or take as well, in exile who fled, who managed to get into Egypt. And again, he's being very open and honest and methodical and saying, well, yeah, you have to give benefit to this and benefit to that. But still, even when you do that, the numbers are still shockingly high. Shockingly high. As you point out in the chat there, Andy, that example, 380,000 is 3 times the population of Exeter, which is a city here in the UK. Many other cities as well. Can you actually picture it? Can you actually picture it?
Acknowledged that, there was 2.3 million people and now there's 1.7 million people. So what happened to that 500,000 plus people? So I just want to know this because, if I get into debates with these Zionists, I want to have the information. But there it is. I went through the whole thing. I hope that helps people understand. I'll find you that exact part. Yeah, Trump's admission. See, confirmation of the horrific extent of the Gaza genocide has unwittingly come from none other than U.S. President Donald Trump. In May of this year, with access to top intelligence, he referred to 1.7 million Gazans who he wants to see totally removed from Gaza to permit a Riviera-style resort development. Given that the pre-conflict Gazan population was around 2.4 million, okay, so this means, according to Trump's own figures, that up to 700,000 Gazans have disappeared. So I got it wrong. So it was close to 2.4 million is the official number. So that means that 700,000 Gazans have disappeared. To press the point, it has been estimated that around 100,000 Gazans may have found refuge in Egypt. Hence, Trump has unwittingly conceded that about 0.6 million Gazans have been killed, a figure broadly consistent with our estimate above. So there you have it. Canada's CBC network.
Yeah, it's right. Even Donald Trump's accidentally disclosed it, and I'm sure that many of you alike will have been in exchanges with trolls on social media or whatnot. There was one recently here on the channel. What was it? It was on a post, actually. It was on the thing I posted from the Indiana Jones film. I don't know if any of you saw that one. And obviously that was, just an observation because it was, as I pointed out, on the TV at the time. So there's a map from 1936 which clearly shows Palestine as Palestine in the transition scene as Indiana Jones is travelling. But any other map from 1936 would show you the same as it is there next to Jordan, or Transjordan, whichever you prefer to call it. But the troll in question thought that I was using this purely as my only resource on the matter, that perhaps before seeing the film I wasn't aware that Palestine existed in 1936, and more specifically that Israel did not exist in 1936, having only been conceived some 12 years later on. But the troll did persist in thinking that that was how, or my reasoning for believing that Palestine was a state in 1936, you know, that the land was Palestine, and so on and so forth. Yeah. But they were, I don't even think, got to the point of asking them to provide me with a map that would show otherwise. But there you go, that's just one example. So some good ammunition here where the numbers are concerned, but unfortunately higher than we previously thought. Yeah, isn't it shocking? Terrible, isn't it? Terrible. Yeah, governments aren't about morality at all, as you're saying in the chat, people.
Reported this disclosure, quoting Professor Devi Sridhar as saying she would expect Trump has received the best intelligence on the matter, and the fact he has cited the number several times suggests it comes from American or Israeli officials. Sridhar added, "I was just surprised that I saw that figure, and no one even flinched. They were just like, oh, okay, 1.7 million left." And I'm like, so where did the 500,000 or 400,000 people go? And mind you, this report came out in July 11th of this year. So we're a half a year later. So you can imagine that the numbers, you know, if I had to guess, over 1 million by now. Because we know that, you know, most of the deaths in Gaza are not from Israeli airstrikes. They're from the blockade. They're from what they call war-imposed deprivation. Although that's, I mean, war imposed is a bit misleading because we know this isn't a war. It begins with a couple quotes which we'd be mindful to read. "It is forbidden to kill, therefore all murderers are punished unless they kill in large numbers and to the sound of trumpets." That was Voltaire. "I don't know of any army that does more than an Israeli army does to avoid civilian casualties, but incidental and unintended casualties accompany every war," says Benjamin Netanyahu. "The right number of civilian casualties is 0, says John Kirby, former U.S. National Security Council.
But they're not unintended, of course. This is another thing that they've been seen in their minds gloating about, but actually confessing to the very things that are in the ICC charges against them. Prevention of food, starvation as a weapon. I think you've opened up a can of worms there with that hot take about the Temple of Doom. James Holmes, I'll just leave you to that in chat. I think it's good, well, it's a good film, good transition scene specifically. Good point there, Andy, as well. Yeah, trolls just increase engagement with the channel. Well, hopefully a lot of them don't understand that. As you get return viewer stats increasing.
Spokesperson. Well, I hope that helps you, as it helped me.
Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe to the page to help it grow. And if you'd like to support...
Yeah, I'll put a link to Rathbone's channel. Some of you watching at the moment actually already follow him, which is good to see. But for anybody who doesn't, go and check out Rathbone. Great content. He does some comedy skits as well, but great analysis from him there. If a little devastating, it has to be said. With the actual true talk. Now, like I said, I thought I was perhaps maybe slightly leaning on the side of embellishment, thinking it could be around 120, 130,000. Knowing for sure that it was going to be over 100 as a sort of conservative baseline, but 300,000, and that's just infants, the total number being way over 600,000. And even Trump knows it. What can you say? Shameful. We'll move on swiftly though. Let's take an upward curve if we can, perhaps see something a bit more positive. This is a protest which took place today, I believe, but so far no organisation has come forward and claimed responsibility as far as I know, so this could be an individual action or protest, but it's at Maersk, who are, of course, logistics, the international transport company, and they transport weapons to Israel, which is the reason behind this protest. There's a short clip here which I'm going to play for you. There isn't any sound over this, where you can see the smashing windows, spraying paint inside the building. Looks very similar to other protests at Elbit facilities that we've seen, although, as I should remind you, nobody's claimed responsibility for that. Just take a look again. So this was in Denmark, was it? One of the latest protests there. There have also been further protests in support of the hunger strikers, the PAL Action hunger strikers, one of whom remains on hunger strike, and has been for some 58 days now. Heber. So there was a protest which at one point went through King's Cross. You're going to see King's Cross station, that is, right by Trafalgar Square. Very close to where yours truly has been on and seen some action previously, but absent this time, but solidarity with everybody who showed out in support of the hunger strikers, just to bring it back down to a more serious tone, because 58 days is a very long period to be on hunger strike. Of course, the strike against the prescription of the group. And a good turnout you can see here as they make their way towards King's Cross in London. Solidarity with the strikers. Credit to Palestine Online for that footage there. We're going to see some footage from Caitlin Johnston's channel now. Something really well bred out by a guy called Tim Foley. concerning the protest, of course, and the reaction to governments with the aforementioned prescription, etc. And we've seen, of course, the reaction to protests to the prescription with Defend Our Juries. Of course, having covered those protests on the channel as well. But check this out from Tim Foley. I'm sure you'll agree with this excellent testimony from Caitlin Johnston's channel. Let's see what's happening.
They feign concern about pro-Palestine chants in order to shut down pro-Palestine protests. It's such an insult to our intelligence how Israel supporters pretend it's the way pro-Palestine protests are happening that they object to, and not the protests themselves. Like if protesters were saying different chants, they'd be totally cool with opposition to Israel's crimes. They're like, we're not trying to suppress your free speech and stomp out criticism of Israel. We're just concerned about slogans like globalize the Intifada and from the river to the sea. We're worried that expressions of support for Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran that we've been seeing in some demonstrations are going to cause acts of terrorism. Bullshit. Lies. They're fucking lying. If they weren't concerned trolling about globalize the Intifada, they'd make up some other excuse to express their concern, and they know it. Their objection is to criticism of Israel, not to the way those criticisms are being expressed. People who support the status quo always oppose protest groups on these same grounds. They dishonestly pretend it's the manner in which the protesters express themselves that's the problem, rather than the fact that the protests are happening at all. This has been going on for generations. Martin Luther King Jr. famously wrote all the way back in 1963, "I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action." If you have loyalty to the establishment order of things, then obviously you're never going to support efforts aimed at the upheaval of that order. If you support Israel and its Western military backing, the only kind of protesting against the Zionist state that you'll ever accept is protest that makes no difference and draws no attention to itself. You'll make up excuses justifying your disdain for the protests against Israel, but you'll be doing so after the fact. Your true objection is to the protest itself. Nobody wants to be seen as a tyrant. Zionists don't want people talking about the fact that Zionism is the single greatest threat to free speech in the Western world today because of the way Western governments and institutions have been aggressive.
Excuse me, sir. It sounds like you need to go on that very informative BBC course. If you don't know that these two things, don't you know that a religion's a country? And it's the same thing, that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism? You'd better sign up for this course. Sorry, people, I don't know how this ended up on the channel. Tim here seems to be mightily ill-informed. So this is tongue-in-cheek sarcasm, by the way, for anybody who hasn't cottoned on yet. But yeah, seriously, it rings true. This is pretty close to home with a lot that he's been saying. Personally, having friends who have been put in prison for having Zoom calls, for example.
Stomping out criticism of Israel and anti-genocide activism since 2023 at the urging of Israel lobbyists. So they make up fake reasons for each individual act of oppression. Oh, no, we're not trying to stomp out criticism of Israel in the UK. We just can't have people breaking into military facilities and vandalizing British warplanes like Palestine Action did. No, we're not trying to stomp out criticism of Israel in Australia. We're just trying to prevent the incitement of terrorist attacks. No, we're not trying to stomp out criticism of Israel in the United States. We just need to make sure Jewish students feel safe on university campuses. No, we're not trying to stomp out criticism of Israel online. We just can't allow any expressions of support for proscribed terrorist groups, and we don't want people to be traumatized by seeing uncensored images of massacred children, etc., etc., etc. Over and over and over again, we're seeing measures put in place throughout the Western world designed to crush speech that opposes Israel and the Western Empire's facilitation of its crimes. And every single time there's a narrative push to frame each individual authoritarian measure as its own separate act, which has been put in place for reasons which have nothing whatsoever to do with suppressing speech that is critical of Israel. And it's a lie every time. The only common thread running through each of these assaults on free speech is that it makes it harder to express criticism of Israel. That's the goal, plainly. You'll see this dynamic play out everywhere from abusive nations to abusive households. If a downtrodden wife gets fed up with the way she's been treated and yells at her spouse, the entire conversation from that point onward is going to be about the fact that she yelled and behaved inappropriately, and not about the mistreatment she was objecting to. In reality, there is no way she could have expressed her opposition to the status quo of the household that would have both A, received attention, and B, been deemed an acceptable expression of discontent, because the goal of the abuser is to preserve the status quo. That's exactly what we're seeing with all this fake concern trolling about anti-genocide protesters chanting inappropriate slogans or protesting in inappropriate ways or at inappropriate places or at inappropriate times. The goal isn't to make sure the pro-Palestine protests are happening in a certain way. The goal is to shut down the protests. Ignore their words and watch their actions. Don't pay attention to their justifications for why this or that assault on free speech is necessary. Look at the real intention behind that assault. Don't look at what they say they're doing. Look at what they are actually doing. What they are actually doing is systematically strangling free expression to death wherever it is critical of the state of Israel. That's the real story. That's all this is ever actually about.
Very well read. That was great stuff from Caitlin Johnston's channel. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description after the end of the stream. I was going to play another clip from the channel this evening about Netanyahu's visit to America. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. But I'll try and bring you that one tomorrow. It's definitely worth seeing, and take a bit more of a look and have a bit more of an analysis as Trump arrives in the USA, people. Netanyahu arrives, I should say. Yeah, shout out once again to Tim Foley and Caitlin Johnston there. We're going to have another comedy clip as we get towards the end of the stream. Stick around though, people.
At Tesco, Christmas is about bringing people together, most of them around the discount section at the back.
We know there's a cost of living crisis, so this Christmas we've put our prices up. There's no point in us both struggling.
Your Christmas shopping experience starts here. Sign up to our loyalty program to unlock trolleys that are 7% faster.
Speaking of our loyalty program, without a club card, this turkey is £42. With a club card, it's still £42.
Turkey and pigs in blankets were very popular this year, so unfortunately they're gone now. But we do have a wide range of amazing adjacent items.
For Christmas, we've made your shopping experience magical by rearranging the entire store every day. Found what you came for? Now that's a Christmas miracle.
And to make your shopping experience smoother, we've hired extra staff to remove old people blocking the fridges.
On a budget? Tesco's London Dry Gin might taste like piss, but it'll still do the job, so you can tolerate the in-laws.
In a hurry, head over to self-checkout and scan your own shopping. Only 60% of our customers are selected for random inspections. All staff are required to wear red undies throughout December, and we play our 2 favourite Christmas songs on repeat to get you into the festive mood.
If we're a bit understaffed today, it's because we had our Christmas office party last night. Henry's been laid off, David's in hospital, and Robert's in jail.
Thank you for choosing Tesco this Christmas. We're sure you had way better options.
That was Gintelligence once again. Go and check them out. There's a link in the description of the stream. Gintelligence, their take on Tesco's. I'm just queuing up the raid here, people. Stick around. And while I do that, another shout out to all the members on the channel. Thanks for your gifted memberships this evening, as well as attempted gifted memberships. Yeah, you can try another time or use super thanks, which are available on the Buy Me a Coffee page. Entirely up to you, people. Thanks a lot for all of your contributions. So let's see who's around. We've got No Justice. Let's dive into No Justice. Definitely worth sticking around for. Before we do that though, as well, just a final reminder, you've got a few more moments before we close this evening's poll. Who is your hero of the year? Okay, if you're watching back later on, just a reminder, the poll will still be open. We've put that up as a post on YouTube in the posts section. If you'd like to go and vote there. You will need to be subscribed to the channel to do that though, I believe. And yes, an average of the polls will determine the winner. You can find out tomorrow. For the very first, please do join us, the very first My Left Eye Awards 2025. So we'll be back with you. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on that one, people. Double check that you've hit thumbs up on the stream before we bring things to a close here. I will now officially declare the poll as closed. So the results, well, quite clear, as you'll see in a moment. 53% to Greta Thunberg and the Gaza flotilla. Zach Polanski and the Green Party in second with 24%, joint second actually with 24%, along with Ahmed Al-Ahmed, and finally with 0% not receiving a vote this evening, Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana and your party. Well, we'll see how it all tallies up. Of course, the YouTube posts poll remain open until the start of the ceremony tomorrow. But that's it for that poll. and indeed this stream, people. So whether you join us on the raid or not, enjoy the rest of your evening/early morning. Power to the people, free Palestine, Sudan, Yemen, and everyone else. Take care. My Left, I'll be seeing you soon. Good night.
A-R-N-I-E, A-R-N-I-E, on a rim is the health machine.